term paper that I did last semester. So it is about the characterization in Hildegard of Bingen's Ordo Virtutum. So the issue of morals is something that is present all the time. Everybody, pretty much every day, has to think about making the right decision or wrong decision. Parents present this idea with maybe the golden rule or taking the high road, and a lot of people will base their moral decisions on the Bible or other scripture. So since morals are so prevalent in our culture, it's no wonder they creep up in modern entertainment. So for example, in Harry Potter, the central theme is that love will prevail. If you stick to your guns and fight for the good side, you're going to win. And then an example from a kids show I have is Arthur. But in pretty much every children's show, there's always a central theme, a lesson to be learned, or a point or a moral to the story to help instill like good judgment or some other value in the audience. So what is a morality play? Well, a morality play is a type of drama that has a moral lesson or idea or belief built into it, and the point of the play is to teach the audience this lesson. Typically, characters in these plays will personify some type of character or quality. So, for example, kindness or charity, or they will represent abstractions. So, death or youth or something along those lines. The morality play that we're talking about today, Ordo Virtutum, is written by Hildegard of Bingen, which is this lovely woman at the top here. And she was a really exceptional woman, especially for her time. She was a writer, a philosopher, an abbess, and she just generally took it upon herself to learn a lot. She was considered a very wise woman, and people went to her for advice frequently. When she was young, she began studying with a woman named Judah, who was an anchoress. And what an anchoress is somebody who has decided to devote their entire life to God. So they completely shut themselves off from the outside world. They live in a small room, devote their time to solitary study, thought, and prayer a lot of the time. So while Hildegard was studying with Judah, she began to have visions from God. And when people found out about this, the Pope actually declared her an official prophetess of the church, which is another reason, maybe the biggest reason why people sought her advice so much. So Hildegard's beliefs and abilities. Well, obviously she was a very religious woman, and she taught what was in the Bible. She really believed in that and taught the people around her that. Possibly the most important thing in her eyes was virginity. It was Hildegard's belief that as a virgin, by resisting the temptations of the world, one would be closer to God because they wouldn't have to divide their attention between God and another human being. It would, all your focus, you would be the spouse of Christ. And as I mentioned earlier, she had visions from God, and it was her belief that the purpose of these visions was to convey messages from God to the people around her so that they would worship more and be closer to God. So this is a quote from a letter that she wrote to Elizabeth of Chanel, and it really shows her intentions and her thoughts about her visions and what they meant. So it reads, "I, a poor little form and earthen vessel, speak these things not from myself, but from the serene light. Man is a vessel which God fashioned for himself so that he might accomplish his works in it." So the characters of Ordo Virtutum are first the soul, and I have a picture of the woman who portrayed the soul in a recent film adaptation of Ordo Virtutum. So we have the soul and the devil and the virtues. Basically, the plot of this is that the soul is trying to find her way, and the devil is trying to sway her to fall into sin and do bad things, and the virtues are on the side of good. I believe there are 17 virtues in all, and I have some of them listed up here. So as you can see, the characters personify these actual traits. So this is the last minute of Ordo Virtutum, the film. And the text is written at the bottom in English. And if you read that as they sing, you'll get an idea of the really religious context of the play and what Hildegard's message was. So the characterization is a concept that happens with any plot, so I'm going to just discuss these 6 ideas of characterization before I explain how they relate to Ordo Virtutum and a modern day film. So a protagonist, we all know, is the hero or the main character, the one that the audience identifies with. The story usually revolves around the protagonist. And the antagonist is the bad guy or the villain, the person who creates conflict or tension with the antagonist. Foil characters are usually characters who have part of the reason for their existence is to highlight or bring out some trait or aspect of the main character. And then any type of character will either be flat or round. So a flat character is a character that we don't see change very much. Usually just see one side of their personality, and we don't watch them evolve or anything throughout the play or book or movie. And a round character is someone who we do see change. We know their personality a little bit better. We watch them develop. They usually express emotion and change somehow. How many of you have seen Across the Universe? Good, I was counting on that. Okay, so this is a film directed by Julie Taymor, and if you don't know, it's a musical and it's based on Beatles songs. So the Beatles songs help the plot progress, and the main characters are, these names are names from Beatles songs like Hey Jude and Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds and so on. So basically we watch the plot unravel. We watch all these characters meet each other, and everything happens during the time of the Vietnam War. So the protagonist in Ordo Virtutum is the soul. We identify with her, we watch her battle and struggle and try to find who she is. And in Across the Universe, it's Jude. The antagonist in Ordo Virtutum is the devil, obviously, because he's trying to sway the soul to make bad decisions. And in Across the Universe, it's a little tougher to decide because there are some smaller roles that could be considered antagonists, but I really think that the biggest tension in the film is caused by the Vietnam War. This is the thing that the characters have to overcome to maintain their relationships and decide who they want to be and be good people. So the foil characters, in Across the Universe, it's Max, which is Jude, the main character's best friend. It's because of Max that Jude becomes more free, a little more risk-taking. He's a little more adventurous because of Max, and also Max introduces him to his love interest. So clearly part of the purpose of Max's character is to bring out these things in Jude's character. And then in Ordo Virtutum, the virtues are the foil characters, because as they present themselves, they try to convince the soul to find these things within herself, and part of the play, she really reflects those virtues. So the flat characters are the characters that we don't see change. In Ordo Virtutum, that is the virtues and Satan, because the virtues we see, let's take faith for example, the entire time faith is faith. We don't see any process happening there. It's just faith the whole time. And then Satan is purely evil the entire time. We don't see how he became evil. We don't see him try to change. He's just evil. And across the universe, again, it's a little bit tougher to decide across the universe, but Sadie and Prudence are a little bit like flat characters, because the essence of who their characters are don't change very much. Even though we learn a little bit about their backstory throughout the film, pretty much the whole time Sadie is the fun-loving, music-loving girl, and Prudence is always a little bit closed off, thoughtful. So the basis of who they are remains the same the whole time. And the round characters in Ordo Virtutum is the soul. We watch her struggle between good and bad, try to resist temptation, and in the end she chooses good. And then Across the Universe, it's Jude and Lucy, who are two people who have fallen in love, and we watch them struggle to decide whether they should be together, even though they have differing views on the war and what people should do about the war. And we're rooting for them the whole time, and the plot kind of centers around their relationship a lot of the time. So I hope that this presentation has made it clear that even though the settings and the characters between these two different, the play and the film, it's obviously very different because of the time that's elapsed between them, but the idea of demonstrating moral values through entertainment is not a new concept.